Hi, I'm Savina. Welcome to Mom Van Up. I'm going to talk about how I avoid homeschool burnout. I've been going to the homeschool convention since my youngest daughter was born. I am just all about homeschool. I have a teaching degree and I've worked in teaching my whole life. And so the idea that I could educate my own kids was always so exciting to me that I set up this huge expectation of what it was going to look like. Well, this year, finally, my oldest became school aged and we started homeschooling. There was a lot to work through in my own expectations, and it really could have crashed pretty bad, but it didn't. Some things I did totally by accident, and some things I was just surrounded by a lot of good wisdom from some other moms. This video is part of a collab with Rooted in Rest and the Waldock Way, where they're talking about a different theme every month and inviting other creators to share their content as well. So thank you so much for inviting us to join in here, and I hope that what I am going to share can be helpful to some of you guys. Hey, editing Sabina here. I just wanted to say thank you so much to Rooted in Rest and Waldock Way. I have learned so much from your channels. I've tried to make morning basket work so many times thanks to all your inspiration, and I really appreciate just the encouragement that you're giving to homeschool moms. And I just realized that in the video I didn't quite fangirl enough about how much I've enjoyed y'all's content. Thank you so much for everything that you're doing to support this community. The first thing that I do to avoid burnout is my planner. The best piece of advice I ever got about homeschooling was that your planner can either be a planner or a record. So just because I write it in my planner doesn't contractually tie me to doing that thing, but the planner can also just be a place where I write down what we did accomplish instead of writing down what I hope we will accomplish. And that was so helpful to me because now I have this planner that is a great record of what we have done, but also a good tool for me to use in the future. Now, I'll link in the description the actual planner that I have. I bought it in an ultimate bundle a couple years ago, and it is blank. It's completely blank. So the wonderful thing is I can use this year after year after year. And the other thing is if I plan out a week, which I generally do, if I plan out a week and it doesn't get done, we had a couple, let's call them surprises this year. Just recently I had my gallbladder out. So I was in the hospital overnight away from my tiny baby. So obviously homeschool did not get done. So what I will do is I'll just cross off the week and write the next week on top. So the way that I use the planner, so this is the week that I'm currently working on. Let's get there. The week that I'm working on right now. So it just gives you I write the week and then my focus. So for this week, my focus, I hope that comes into focus for you, is games. I bought a new book that has a bunch of different games I can play with my kids, so I chose some and wrote them across. Now, another thing that I'll do is I'll just write hooked on phonics or math or reading, and I'll just write it across. But I also have a couple preschoolers, so I'll just write their names in these other slots here, and I'll plan their week, which makes this planner just really wonderfully flexible. The other thing that I do is on this side, I'll keep the record. So this is where I'll do my planning, and this is where I'll do my record. So I will even make this list normally will be my mom to do or to research list. So right here, I'll write down what we read that week. I'll write whatever math we accomplished, whatever writing we did, and I'll just use this spot very free form to record what we did accomplish. So by doing this, I plan for flexibility. Now, I know that there's a lot of pressure for a kit that tells you exactly what to do to make sure that you don't miss anything. But in my experience, being able to just pull what I need when I need it and not being told that I should be on week 7 when I'm only on week 3 really has helped me not ever feel behind homeschooling. We are Ambleside Online homeschoolers. We follow Charlotte Mason method. So if you're familiar with Ambleside, this is their printable schedule. So another way that I plan for flexibility is I just print this out, I tuck it in my planner, and when I finish a reading, I highlight it. Now, as you can see, like in the Burgess book, we are only on week 2, but we're in week 7 for Shakespeare. So we kind of eased in because it was my first year. My expectations were crazy. It took me a while to get going. But just by having it this way and highlighting as we get done, it gives me a great visual encouragement that I've accomplished a lot, but it also helps me keep track so I don't feel like I have to get everything done at a certain point. It's just progress, not perfection. So this shows me what my progress is like. I would encourage anybody, no matter what curriculum you're using, I've really looked deeply into some other curriculums, but whatever one you're using, I encourage you to just track this way instead of feeling like you needed to track 1 week at a time. We finished this week, we finished that week. How about we just finished this part? We just finished this part. So the next thing I want you to do the next thing that I have done that has helped me avoid burnout is talking about my successes. I will never forget the first day that my husband came home and said, "Well, what did you guys do for school today?" I was like, "Oh my goodness, you never asked us that before." Um, I didn't really think that he was going to be wanting a daily report, and it made me very nervous. But when I did talk to him about what we had done, it was so encouraging to me. And the same thing with my mom when she asked me what's going on, talking about the things that you've done well. So in my house, I really struggle with screen time. Even as a child, I remember feeling so connected to the TV and feeling very frustrated with how much I watched as a child. So it's hard for me when the kids watch a lot of TV. And it's very easy for me to feel like those days were a complete failure. And one day we were having one of those days, and my mom came over and I said, "It's just not been a good day. The kids have been watching TV all day." And I said, "Oh, but wait, we read a book at breakfast. We listened to our composer before we turned on the TV. We did play some math games. And when I really talked about what we had done, I had listed a lot of things." Now, my background is teaching in public school. I've been a public school teacher for years and years, and I know what really takes place during a school day. It's not a pile of things, it's a handful of things that get done. So, having a realistic expectation about what I wanted to get done in the day and shifting that, if I just get some things done, a couple things, a handful of things, that's a successful day. It doesn't need to be education from 9 to 12 or from 9 to 3, or it doesn't need to be, unless if we watch TV, the day is a failure. No, if I talk about and list the successful things, that really helps me feel like not a failure, not burned out, feeling good. The last thing, which really ties in with that, is knowing your goal. So when we first started kindergarten, because I wasn't using like a boxed curriculum, and because we weren't able to do like a big kickoff event and we weren't able to join a homeschool co-op, all these things that I imagined our first year would be like, it was hard for me to feel like we started. We did all kinds of educational type games and things, but we had been doing those for years. So when I decided a school day is a day where I do a reading lesson with my daughter, we read a book aloud together, and she writes something in her journal. This is we call it her school bucket. This is her school bucket, and we don't do all of these things every day, but one of the things that I bought for her was one of these primary journals. So inside it has the blank top and the lines on the bottom. And I know that not everyone agrees with having that support for writing. We do copy work, so I'll ask my daughter to draw something on the top, which she's almost always very willing to do. And then I'll write a couple words that relate to the picture on the bottom, and she'll copy them. So if we read, which we almost always read when we sit down at breakfast, if she writes and I give her a reading lesson, then that counts as a school day. And that was so freeing. Like, if we do those things, it's a school day. So knowing exactly what my goal was really helped me feel more successful and less burnt out and less overwhelmed, just knowing what I expected out of myself. So I think that was a really good tip for me. Now, there's a reason, I have a lot to say about math, and there's a reason that math isn't on that list, but that is definitely a topic for another video. That is what I taught in public school. I taught high school math, mostly geometry and algebra. So my ideas about math are a little different, so I didn't include that on the list. But we are doing some math games, but those three things. So planning for flexibility, not tying myself into these impossible goals, but just giving myself kind of a lay of the land. This is where I want us to get, but it's flexible. If it doesn't happen this week, it can happen next week. 2, talking about my successes Even if I didn't have a supportive spouse or my mom around, writing it down, just knowing, reviewing what went well that day, super encouraging, and knowing the goal, knowing exactly what I expect to have accomplished that day. All those things have really helped me, like, just start well and feel like I have success and feel like I'm making progress, and giving me a better idea of where we are doing well and where we need to step things up. So those things have really helped me as a brand new school homeschooler, not to give up, not to throw in the towel, not to feel like, oh, I can't do this, oh, I'm not doing it well enough. Those things have really helped me feel confident and ready, and it's making more and more days successful. Progress, not perfection. So if these tips were helpful for you, please give me a like and let me know in the comments if you have any questions, or if you want me to talk about my math philosophy or some of the other curriculum that we're using. I would be glad to. I love talking about homeschool. So I hope to see you back here soon. And Mom Band Up. Thanks. Bye.